Compared to other authors we've read, little is publicly available about William Pietz. Pietz has written in numerous publications focusing mainly on fetishism and terminology. He has a background in philosophy, political theory, and history. We've done our best to summarize and simplify his writing and provided some visual aids to both illustrate our points and keep you awake. While we have thus far read about fetishism as it relates to Marx's commodity fetishism, we've read little about the origins of the term itself. The first half of Pietz's dissertation explains the origin of the theory of fetishism. He spends relatively little time exploring modern concepts of fetishism, rather focusing on the etymology of the term. To this end, on page 5, Pietz provides us with his thesis and guiding argument throughout the essay. The fetish, as an idea and a problem, and as a novel object not proper to any prior discrete society, originated at the cross-cultural spaces of the coast of West Africa during the 16th century. Pietz's study is sourced from 15th and 16th century colonial Portuguese literature, as well as some later Enlightenment thinkers. While Tausig's writing focuses on present-day people experiencing the collision of two opposing systems, Pietz writes about one of the first instances in which this collision occurred. He describes these texts as resulting from the abrupt encounter of radically heterogeneous worlds. It's possible to view them as remnants of the creative enactment of a new form of social consciousness. While some academics argue that the term is either redundant with the phrase idolatry or an imperialist reduction of African culture, Pietz defends the study of fetishism and insists that it is both a novel and descriptive term. The African fetish was born of a situation along the west coast of Africa in which radically different social systems collided. Pietz describes these as the Christian feudal, African lineage, and merchant capitalist social systems. From this description, Pietz offers his theory for the first section of the reading. Quote, "The fetish originated only from the emergent articulation of the ideology of the commodity form, as it defined itself within and against the social values and religious ideologies of two radically different types of non-capitalist society encountering each other in an ongoing cross-cultural situation." Pietz continues by identifying four main themes which can be found throughout the discourses which use the term. The first theme of the fetish is its irreducible materiality. This theme is fairly self-explanatory and can be observed in all modern uses of the term, with Marx, Freud, or in popular reference to brands. Pietz also addresses how the term is used surrounding immaterial objects, such as rules, personalities, or ideas. To explain this, Pietz describes materiality in Platonian terms as identified with whatever is properly external to the rational inner soul. The second theme is singularity and repetition as the principle explaining the fetish's power. He describes this as the power of the fetish to repeat its originating act of forging an identity of articulated relations between certain otherwise heterogeneous things. Basically, the fetish emerges from a unique moment or necessity and continues to produce that result. This is a particularly difficult concept to grasp in relevant terms and relates back to Tausig's discussion of teleology. In terms of the commodity, exchange value and use value, two heterogeneous concepts, were brought together into a single material space, the commodity, and then continues to reproduce those two heterogeneous concepts. The third theme of the fetish is the problem of value. This centers around the capacity of any material thing to embody social value, which Pietz broadly defines as recognized cultural value of any sort, be that religious, economic, personal, and so forth. Pietz provides comparatively little detail on this theme, except to explain that social institutions or rules can be personified within a fetish. The final theme of the fetish is the theme of superstitiously, falsely, or perversely configured desire and belief, or simply libidinal individuality. Pietz describes this as the power of external objects over the desires, actions, health, and self-identity of individuals whose selfhood is conceived as inseparable from their bodies. This could be like an object which is literally worn around the neck, or something which has conceptual power over us, like the capital. In summary, the four themes of the fetish are its materiality, singularity and repetition, the problem of value, and libidinal individuality. In the next section, Pietz discusses the application of these themes to African fetishes.
The Truth of the Fetish uses four themes previously mentioned to investigate the history of fetish theory. Pete states that unique problem idea emerged out of the particular historical situation of a mercantile cross-cultural space of transvaluation between material objects of radically different social orders. This is stated because fetishism, according to Peets, is a problem due to the ontology of social values of material objects. There isn't a clear, concise event in which the word fetish was created. It was more so because of different events that occurred that had similar characteristics that could describe how social order was in different parts of the world. Different problem ideas derive from different interactions between West Africa and Europe dating back to the 15th and 16th century. In this text, we see the history surrounding the word fetish. Fetish is an object, a commodity that is or can be man-made, and holds a power over people due to beliefs or attributing value to a commodity. Each fetish is a singular, articulated identification, unifying events, places, things, or people. Fetish develops an intense relationship with the individual body. Desires, actions, self-identity, and health are either forms of why fetish can hold such a high status in a society. For example, Peets mentions the Congo nail fetish, the Akan gold weights, and the Portuguese padrões. Starting with the Congo nail fetish, it originates from West Africa. It is a form of art. It is a human figure with exaggerated proportions, made with pinned nails and blades. These were made due to the belief of a great god that could bring protection and sacred medicine to the West Africans. Akan gold weights were a direct cultural response to the impact of gold-seeking European traders. The primary purpose of the gold weights was to be used in trade, but for some, they were figurative weights that could serve other purposes. They were occasionally worn by sick children to restore them to good health, and as charms or amulets to bring good fortune or to preserve the wearer from harm. Due to Europeans introducing these weights to a trading market, not only did these weights carry a value inside the societal beliefs, it carried a higher value once people began trading materials to obtain this gold. These weights connected completely unrelated social values. Portuguese padrões were used during the Portuguese exploration of the African coast. Padrões are stone markers. They are these huge pieces of stone that were carried on ships, used to state possession, and used as landmarkers. So when other explorers came, they would know that the Portuguese had been there and that is their land. Padrões were used to territorialize the codes of Christianity and Portuguese feudalism into African landscape, thereby reifying the space in terms of these value codes. These stone markers were used to make the possession of the land real and having everyone respect the stones and what they stood for. There are four themes used to categorize fetish, and each of these examples fall into any of these themes. These examples are commodities, and they hold a value whether it is monetary or for religious purposes or any other purpose that someone could think of. There is a repetitive concept behind these objects which emphasizes their social value. For example, if we look at the padrões are just stones. But once people started believing that the stone held a power due to the Portuguese leaving them there, the stone no longer became just a stone. The stone now had this power over the people and had a huge social value, and this was a process that even now we see that is repeated, where if someone places something there and people start to respect it like a statue, we all start to respect that statue and not realize that it is just a lump of a stone or some sort of material. It's just an object, and it doesn't hold any actual value once you really look at it. Problem of the fetish is understood as abrupt encounters from different worlds. Pete suggests that the gathering of different ideas, desires, and narrative systems is what creates a true fetish. Paying close attention to the material objects exchanged during these times gives a more concrete historical input to the future studies of fetish. To conclude our presentation, here are some questions to discuss. 1. Are there any modern-day commodities that fit into just one of the themes discussed above? 2. If Pete's used different places instead of West Africa and Europe for his essay, will the truth of fetish remain the same? Why or why not? 3. Would societies that are lawless have an increase or decrease in fetish? 4. Does the fetish problem idea affect you personally? 5. Is fetish and idolatry the same? Why or why not?
We hope this presentation made the reading more clear for you. Both the presentation itself and the script used will be available in the description below.